Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Bestech made collaboration between Combo and Kambu. I'm so sorry. I know that I'm mispronouncing his name. And TNT knives. This is called the Eccentric. Originally, I think in the unboxing I was saying Eccentric. No, they meant Eccentric, which apparently means not centrally located or one-sided. I didn't know that, but I'm giving you that information so that people don't think that I tried to spell eccentric and got it wrong. Anyways, this knife is available. It's pretty expensive. I'll link it down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Thanks to Bestech for sending it in. There are 3 different configurations of this knife. So if you're interested in it, make sure that you check out all the colors. I'll have the link set up so that it shows all of them. Anyways, not a small knife. Let's go ahead and take a measurement. By the way, what do they call this blade shape? That was a question in the unboxing. So now take this with a grain of salt. You know, sometimes Blade HQ's listings are just inaccurate. They apparently refer to this as a modified Tanto. Okay, let's go ahead and, hey, shoot, I wouldn't know what to call it. The overall length of this guy actually comes in at 9 inches. That's a pretty big boy, okay? Blade length, okay? 4 inches on the blade, cutting edges coming in at 3.5, thanks to a large forward choil here. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. Up against the AD10 and the AD20.5. It's pretty big, not small. Let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. Boy, that needs to be tightened up. And the Hogue Deca. Once again, it is big. And then finally, we'll put it up against the Spyderco Para 3, which, no, it's not lost. It's right there. Spyderco Para 3. That's the PM2. Sorry, I'm an idiot. And Para 3. Okay. How's the action? First of all, I got to say this before I forget. This gives me a GTC vibe, but it's like somebody smoothed out all the edges. Like if you took a GTC and you melted it slightly. That's kind of what it looks like to me. Anyways, the action. So Bestech typically does a really good job with this. I find this interesting where the over travel is. It's actually this. You can see the lock bar engaging with this sort of pivot cover here, or the pivot area cover. And I think that's pretty neat. So the detent ball is well up on the face of the blade. It's actually right here is where the detent ball is engaging. So by the time it comes down to your fingernail, you've got plenty of time to get out of the way. And good Lord, is it smooth. Now, the detent is pretty good, right? Flipper tab is very low profile, and you essentially, like, you can push button it, but it doesn't feel like that's the way you're supposed to do it. It feels like you're supposed to light switch it. It's pretty satisfying. Overall, it's a combo, a Kambu. Who, you know, Bestech does a great job. Like, they do really great. And their work really shines through when you've got a designer who really knows what they're doing. So there's a big difference between, you know, like the overall, like, you know, complex machine, the accuracy of the machine, the tolerance is always the same. But you could take Bestech's most basic work and compare it with something like this, and it's night and day. So Kambu or Combo, I think it's Combo. And I think I just forget to pronounce it correctly. He is one of those designers where it's like Bestech is really able to showcase what they're doing. He's awesome, and some of the most interesting stuff that Bestech has ever OEM'd has been designed by him. So, yeah, not only is it really striking to look at, but it's made beautifully well. I think maybe not so much the detent. I wish the flipper tab was a slightly different shape, but it's not a deal breaker. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's pretty thick. This is all titanium. It's not like steel underneath titanium, but it's a big knife, and it is fairly thick for sure. Not insanely thick, but definitely fairly thick. You'll notice it. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. This is a large knife to carry in your pocket. There's a couple of elements there, but in terms of just the amount of space it's taking up, not quite as tall as the Para 3 or PM2, but it's longer. It's also way heavier. What are we looking at for materials? We are looking at titanium, 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 titanium. A lot of titanium. And M390. How does Bestech heat treat their M390? Everything that I can find says they're hitting 60 to 62. Thank you. Thank you. Can other Chinese OEMs, can you guys follow suit? Bestech is apparently doing this, right? And now, I don't have the appropriate real HRC testing equipment. I know that there's some people out there, testing with not the right stuff. But for those in the community who are testing with the real and appropriate equipment, I have not seen a consistent result with Bestech. Like personally, it wouldn't surprise me if it's out there. Personally, I have not seen consistent HRC results with Bestech hitting exactly within those numbers. But truthfully, I just haven't looked, right? I've noticed that nobody seems to be pointing it out, so that's generally a good indicator, especially with Bestech being as popular as they are. I'm almost certain Love Them Knives and Transparent have seen this stuff and have run many tests on it, so maybe somebody can let me know. But as far as I know, they are hitting those numbers 60 to 62, which is great. I don't know why so many companies insist on hitting M390 from 59 to 61, which seems trivial, but every point of HRC is important and every steel has, the appropriate range, especially considering geometry and the type of knife and the type of usage, right? Now, this is a wild and crazy compound blade. Still, though, I would prefer that these companies try to hit within what I consider to be the right range, or at least the range that the majority of the community who watches my channel, that's what we prefer to see it. Either way, whatever your view, I think it's great that Bestech is trying to hit those numbers, so that's awesome. But anyways, let's go ahead and weigh it real quick. This is a pretty heavy knife. It does have milling for weight reduction on the inside. Try not to chop my fingers off there. A lot of tie, a lot of steel. Overall weight, an unsurprising 5.7 ounces, though it still does weigh less than something like this is like a milled out XM18 3.5 inch full tie model. And it's much bigger. So it's really not that bad, but 5.7 ounces, you will do that. If you guys just saw me, this is why I want a different flipper tab. And you could say user error, right? But I find myself slipping off of the back of this every now and then because I'm not quite getting the track. It's not so much just the traction, but there's just not a lot of flipper tab there and I miss it. And yeah, it hurts, So yeah, but 5.7 ounces is definitely going to be pretty heavy for a lot of people. Now, there is a lot of blade and the balance ends up right behind the pivot, which is really, really good. I do love that pivot that we get with these designs, like these specific designs. It's really cool. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on the channel, or it's much easier to find it in the pinned comment under every video on my channel. T8 for the pivot, no surprise there. And do we have T8 for the body screws? We do. One over here, and then a hidden screw for the pocket clip, which, by the way, is right hand only. Sorry, lefties. Very simple construction. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. This does run on bearings, by the way. Let's measure the blade stock thickness real quick, and then we can get into the meat and potatoes of this review. I'm actually going to deploy this. So where am I going to get an accurate? Probably about right here. I'm going to have to go deep. I don't usually have to go down this far on the blade to really get that accurate. Yeah, so this does not surprise me at all. 156 thousandths. That's typical Bestech. Okay, what a crazy, weird-looking knife, right? Not everybody's going to love this, and that's fine, but it is interesting. I've never seen a compound blade exactly like this. It's like a sheep's footy, tanto-y compound. I have no idea. It's like an agro-tactical compound sheep's foot. It's crazy, and it's clearly meant to be crazy for the sake of being crazy. There's plenty of people out here, out there or here, wherever, who look at this and they're just so confused as to why somebody would create this. It doesn't seem practical or useful for any common scenario or any scenario they could possibly imagine. And it's really not that complicated in this territory, and this has been this way for a very long time. Sometimes these knife designers just like to do things that are funky and different because the market is oversaturated with the common utility aesthetic and functionality, right? And that seems counterproductive to what a knife's base purpose is, and you would be correct. It just ends up being the case that a lot of people who like to buy these knives and collect them are just not ultra concerned, ironically, with the base purpose of a knife. They just want something interesting, and maybe the Ontario Rat 2 Open L8 and Buck 110 just don't do it for them anymore. So it just depends on what you're after, right? You don't have to like this, but it's really not that confusing. The initial grind is very thin. It's hollow right here. And then this grind out here, I wouldn't call it like excessively thick. It's just thicker and it's flat ground, right? And then you have that little tip there. Personally, this, if there is an intended purpose for this beyond just, wow factor, I wouldn't know what it is. For me, this it just looks like something that would be a little bit frustrating to sharpen, but fun, right? I own plenty of knives in my collection that I know would be a nightmare to sharpen if I use them every single day and then tried to sharpen them. I just don't do that, right? We have kind of that glass blasted look. It's like a media blasting without the the chalky bead blast, like a smooth, like the it's very similar to what WE does with their glass blasting. I like it. We have the Bestech logo here, and then surprisingly, not a combo logo anywhere else. He puts it right here in the relief cut, which is kind of cool. I kind of wish Bestech would have moved this, like made it really small and put it on the flat, but okay. It says M390 right here. And yeah, fit and finish is very, very good. Typical Bestech. The bevel's very even. Give you guys a look at that plunge grind, which if you did decide you wanted to use this and sharpen it, I feel like that would be fairly friendly. I mean, you'll have to tell me. I'm not somebody who, judges plunge grinds professionally. But I just wanted to give you guys a look at it so you could judge for yourself. A lot going on with the handle here, a lot. That's typical for the designer, and I appreciate that he kept the handle as busy and as interesting as the blade. Whether you like the look or not, at least it's not aesthetically lopsided. Ergonomically, it is quite a bit more comfortable than you might guess just by looking at it. The pocket clip, in typical combo fashion, or kombu fashion, I'm saying both now just to be safe, is big and bulky, and boy is it tight. Holy moly. This was a bit of a struggle to get in and out of the pocket most times, so just be aware of that. I do like the backspacer, how it comes up and is sort of peaked at the top, tips out or peeks out over the edges of the frame. This looks like it's hyper angular, and there is a bit of an angle there, but it's not sharp. It's definitely been rounded off or knocked down, and all of that is really just for design factor, for cool factor, and there's nothing wrong with that. But these pieces all have really great transitions. It's just exactly what you would expect from Bestech. Bestech is not sloppy with their manufacturing, at least not consistently. There's anomalies for every company, but Bestech is very, very consistent, so this does not surprise me at all. Access to the lock bar is very good. There's a huge cutout there. It makes it really easy to disengage. I really like that. Pocket clip. It looks good. It goes with the design. It's just really, really tight. It does land partially on top of the relief cut, which I have learned through my own designing venture that's not typically where you want the pocket clip to land. The issue with my pocket clip, though, is different than this. Mine was very, very short, and that point underneath, that material that comes down and touches the titanium, mine was much more pointy, and this made it exponentially worse. So while this is a little bit of a frustrating experience in and out of the pocket, I would say it's not as bad as the pocket clip that I designed, which I'm working on fixing for sure. But I would prefer that the landing zone for this is up higher, whether that means you bring the relief cut down slightly and the pocket clip forward, or whatever you do, not landing right there on the relief cut. You could also put the relief cut on the inside. We've talked about this before, about this potentially weakening the frame lock. Truthfully, I've never had an experience with a frame lock where the relief cut is on the inside and the knife fails. On top of that, I'd like to reference the Umnumzan, which is one of the most famously and consistently used knives in its tier. It's a very expensive knife, but a lot of people who buy that knife or who spend knives, spend that type of money on a knife, if you buy the Umnumzan, those people, who use it, they really use it. A lot of people who use that knife, that is their dedicated user. I have never heard of the Umnumzan disengaging, right? So I would say that that's circumstantial. Maybe there is evidence that the frame lock or the relief cut being on the inside rather than the outside, maybe there is scientific evidence to support that it is slightly less strong. I don't know, right? I've heard that argument, but it's just, I don't want to lean too much into that with the Umnumzan being such a powerful example of it being fine, right? I mean, a lot of times it's probably the amount of force required to disengage a frame lock when it is made correctly, it's probably so much. I mean, you ventured far past the line where we would call it abuse, and you're just definitely into abuse territory, right? So a lot of times probably the answer is to just put it on the inside, and that way you're free to design the pocket clip however you want, right? Either way, I would like a pocket clip that's not quite so tight. And it's a long bill off the point where the material contacts the frame. So it is going to fight your pocket material just a little bit. Steel lock bar insert, right? And I don't think that insert itself is actually doubling as the over travel. I think it's purely this part of the lock bar just contacting this gray piece of the frame. But that's fine. We have a stop pin located in its traditional position with plenty of shouldering. That's nice. No blade play up, down, left, or right. No lock stick, no double clutch, no pivot lash. Extremely smooth and consistent in here. And a, kind of a medium feeling detent. I think that'd be fine. If the flipper tab was just a little bit of a different shape, I think it'd make it a lot better. But again, not a deal breaker. This actually, no. Initially, I thought this is off center. Boy, if it is, it's just slightly to the right. It's always hard to tell. My mind may be playing tricks on me. You tell me what you think. It doesn't. If it is, it's very close. No detent lash. How much is this knife? Bestech manufactures knives in China. This is made from titanium and M390. It's heat treated properly. It has a lot of complex machining. This is an expensive thing to machine versus, say, carbon fiber, G10, micarta, injection mold plastic, etc. It's also a pretty complicated grind, full titanium backspacer, and milled clip. All of the things that I always say, like if I'm looking at a $200 to $250 knife, I do expect premium materials, but I don't expect too much in the way of complex machining. From $250 to $275, I expect a bit more, right? But still, it's not going to be insanely over the top. You might have a little more milling, some contouring, maybe you have a basic blade. This has crazy everything. And even if it's not your taste, it is more expensive to do than, say, what we see from Artisan Cutlery. They do a great job, but what we see from Artisan Cutlery between $200 and $225. This is obviously far more complicated. It's going to cost more to create this. So I always say, if you're going to go over $300, you better bring it. And I got on We Knives about this, trying to charge $300 plus for stuff that should have belonged in the sub $250 territory. This knife, while I don't agree with everything that Bestech sells that's $300 or more, this knife really does bring that extra. Now, on the flip side of that, this is a very polarizing aesthetic, and the designer knows that, and it is not for everybody. In fact, it is for very, very few people. But for those people who like this aesthetic and are wondering, is it worth the money, compared to what I regularly handle, which is a lot, yes. But for the vast majority of people, I think they're just going to be turned off by the aesthetic, right? And again, it's all planned. Like, not every knife is for everybody, and some knives are for very, very few people. So, build construction, taking into consideration where this knife is made, even though it's made in China, right? Comparing apples to apples competition, all of that, what I generally expect. In my opinion, yes, they did bring it for $315. So if you're considering picking this up because you like how it looks, a couple of quirky things to get around, but I think you'll really like it. For everybody else, I can understand not one. I mean, there's a lot of design elements here that are not going to be perfectly suited for long-term utility, right? I try to be really careful about stuff that I recommend to the majority of people, or just a lot of people in general, because I try to lean more towards the side of long-term, user-friendly utilitarian elements, right? This is probably more for the enthusiast collector who's specifically geared towards enjoying this type of thing. But a very, very cool, very aesthetically pleasing product. Well, if you like this aesthetic, it's weird, but it's like a good weird. Does that make sense? Right? Very cool, high effort, very designy knife. That's for some, but far from everybody. So that's going to be it today. Thanks so much to Bestech for sending this in. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.